Mike and Michelle, it's so good to see you guys. I'm trying to think, was it the 70s or 80s that we met? It's lots come down since we both moved up to southern Humboldt. What a move that was for Jeanne and I, coming out here from New York City. It was the violence in the city that drove us to California. I used to work in the theater. I was a stage manager, and I would go out with traveling companies. You know, they would put what we used to call package shows. That is, you get a star that used to work in the theater on the stage, and they're in movies now, and they kind of miss when they working with a live audience, and they'd say, "Gee, you know, I wish I could go back." And so what they did, producers would put a cast or would pick a play, a musical or something, and gear it for that star, and then book it in a different theater. We do a play a week in Cincinnati or Pittsburgh or Detroit or something. We'd go to these different places. And it was good money in those days for stage managing. You got paid more than the actors. You got traveling pay and expenses and things. And but you didn't get that much work. The competition in the theater was just really intense. I mean, you hear they're putting Neil Simon's doing a new play, and they're putting it together, and if you don't have an agent, you can't even audition for a part or anything. So I was also driving a yellow cab. That was kind of nice work for actors and theater people, because you didn't have to do a coat and tie and all that sort of jazz. You could just dress the way you want, and it was kind of fun. So, but you're prey. Cabbies get killed in the city, in New York City. It doesn't even make the newspapers because another cabbie died, you know. See, you stop and what happens is there's a routine. I didn't realize this at the time until this, I got robbed one night, and it was funny. It wasn't funny at the time. It scared me, really. I never looked at somebody pointing a gun at me, and I suddenly flashed. He's just a kid, sort of young black hood, you know, learning the business. And they give you an address where they know there won't be anybody in the neighborhood, and they can rob you, and there won't be anybody around That's what happened to me. I stopped for this young kid in Port Authority. Port Authority in New York City is where all the transportation buses all come in and out of the city through that building. And this nicely dressed, I would pick up black people, but very few cab drivers would pick up a black person because of the violence. And but I thought I was kind of hippie style, and I was cool, and we're all bros, you know, and so I would pick them up, and this guy gave me an address way up on the east side, way uptown. I should have known, but I didn't. I didn't flash on it, the address. I worked at night. I drove the cab at night. And what happened was, we got to the address, and then he said, it was his girlfriend's. She's not home, I can see the lights out. And so we gave me, can you take me over to the west side? Yeah, so we get over there, and actually it was the opposite. I went to the west side first, uptown on the west side, and then they wanted me to go over to the east side. Everything in New York City is, you know, East 42nd, West 42nd Street. And so at that time in New York City, big debate was going on as to whether to put bulletproof shields, glass between the driver and the rider in the back seat. And most of us didn't want them because we felt like, and they put a sign up, the driver has no access to the money. We put the money in the, in a slot, and we were, most of us drivers kind of felt like they won't believe you don't have access to the money, and they're going to demand it. And sure enough, this young punk, we get to his address, and he brings out this gun, points it at me, and it really frightened me. He said, "Get out of the cab." Got out, and the money was all in a pouch right in the front seat with me. And I gave him the pouch, and he said, "Start walking." I thought, oh my God, the guy's going to shoot me in the back. And I started walking, and I kept on walking, and he didn't shoot. I turned the corner. In New York City, they have phones stationed every so many blocks that connect you. You pick up the dial, and you go to the closest police precinct. I pick up the phone and said, "I'm a cabbie, I'm being robbed." He said, "Where's your cab?" I told him where it was. He says, Go back to your cab, and I'll send a patrol car, and we'll pick you up. I didn't really want to go back to the cab. That gun really scared me. And I'm making a long story out of why we came to Southern Humboldt, because I got to that precinct, and this black police sergeant starts chewing me out for picking up a black man. And I thought, this is really crazy. I mean, to be admonished for picking up a black man. But he said, you see, it's a pattern. If you're a cop, there's a pattern to all these robberies. There's a way they do it. We get to know the way they do it. You pick up a mod-dressed black young man in Port Authority, that's where they get their cabs. And so I'm home that night, and Jeanne worked on the days, and I worked at night. I said, you ever been to California? And she said no, and I said, well, pack your things, man. I can't live like this anymore. People get mugged and raped and robbed right outside their door, and no one wants to get involved, so nobody bothers anybody. I mean, walk down the street in the middle of the afternoon, Michelle, it's like they're tearing a car. All these young kids are tearing cars apart, jacking them up and taking the tires and anything valuable. And all these New Yorkers are walking by and watch it. They see it happening. Nobody ever says anything because they don't want to get involved. And this is insane. I mean, absolutely insane. I said, well, I can't live like this. And I had been to California previously and had really good experiences. And so she was up to it. She was a remarkable woman. So, okay. We had a car, we had a vehicle, and so we got in that thing and just started driving, drove all the way across the country and wound up in the Height Ashbury where I had been living previously. Thought I knew people. I'd looked up some of my old friends, but they were all gone. The same thing happened in the Height in San Francisco. It's just the people from the Fillmore and the other neighborhoods moved into the neighborhood because all these little runaways and young people were flocking, flooding the city, were easy pickings, you know. And I had lived and worked with a group of people called the Diggers, and we had kind of our own little social agency, if you know what I mean. We would provide crash pads and free clothing, we baked our own bread in the church. And this was a church, an Episcopal church. And this old minister, elderly minister, Father Harris, opened up his church to all the hippies and became the sort of hippie priest in a way.